Hello! This is my bookshelf right here, and today we will be doing a bookshelf tour. We will start over here with that little section, then we will go up there, down like this, and then at the very last we will take this shelf right here. Okay, so this is where we will be starting, and as you can see, this is my Stephenie Meyer shelf. These are all in Swedish, but I will of course tell you the English titles. So, this right here is Twilight. The Swedish title is If I Could Dream. Next up is New Moon, or in Swedish, When I Hear Your Voice. Then Eclipse, or in Swedish, The Sound of Your Heart. Right here we have The Short Second Life of Bree Tanner. And then Breaking Dawn, which in Swedish is As Long As We Both Breathe. This right here is The Host. This is my favorite Stephenie Meyer book. In Swedish it is called Through Your Eyes. And then we have the first part of the Twilight graphic novel, which I got for my birthday a few years ago. This second shelf right here, it is my Terry Goodkind shelf. All of these books are parts of the Sword of Truth series. In Swedish, for some reason, they decided to split up the books. So each of the book in the series is either corresponding to 2 or 3 books in Swedish. So yeah, I will be trying to show anyway. This is part 2, I think. Yes, part 2 of The Stone of Tears. In Swedish, this is, what is it? The Voyage from the Mud People. This is Blood of the Fold, part 2. These 3 are the entirety of The Soul of the Fire. The first one is called The Three Tones. I don't know what it's called, sorry. The second one is The Soul of the Fire. The third one is The Stolen Sword. These 2, together they make out The Faith of the Fallen. So the first part is called The Faith of the Fallen, and the second is called The Palace of Alturang. These 2, I think, make up the entirety of The Naked Empire. So this is the first part. Oh god, I don't know what this is called. I'll write it in the video, I promise. And this is The Secret of the Statue. And then right here we have my manga shelf. As you can see, I'm quite a big manga fan, but yeah, I don't have money, so I haven't bought that much of it. Yes, also as you can see, this is like misc manga, just single volumes from different series, and then we have my little One Piece collection. I would like to collect them all, but there are just so many of them, so I probably never will. Then we go up here to this top shelf. This is Jar City by Arnaldur Indridason. Silence of the Grave, also by Arnaldur Indridason. The Preacher by Camilla Läckberg. Tonight You Will Be Dead by Vivica Sten. I am pretty sure that this does not have an English release. The End of the Wasp Season by Denise Mina. The Fifth Season by Måns Kallentoft. The Lost Symbol by Dan Brown. The Hypnotist by Lars Kepler. And also The Nightmare by Lars Kepler. We move on to this part of the shelf. This is a bind-up of 2 novels. The Horseman's Son by Dolores Fossen and Going to Extremes by Amanda Stevens. Pillars of the Earth by Ken Follett. Simon and the Oaks by Marianne Fredriksson. Christianity for Atheists by Olle Carlsson. This does not have an English release, I'm quite certain of that. To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. The Shadow of the Wind by Carlos Ruiz Zafón. Night Train to Lisbon by Pascal Mercier. Duma Key by Stephen King. Harbor by John Ajvide Lindqvist. The Elegance of the Hedgehog by Muriel Barbary. Sense and Sensibility by Jane Austen. Atlas Shrugged by Ayn Rand. Metro 2033 by Dmitry Glukovsky. Part 1 as well as Part 3 of the Tales of the Otori series written by Leon Hearn. The first part is Across the Nightingale Floor. The second part is Brilliance of the Moon. Let the Right One In by John Ajvide Lindqvist. The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. The Witch of Portobello by Paulo Coelho. The Winner Stands Alone by Paulo Coelho. Veronica Decides to Die by Paulo Coelho. By the River Piedra I Sat Down and Wept by Paulo Coelho. The Golden Compass by Philip Pullman. The Boy in the Striped Pajamas by John Boyne. And lastly, The Book Thief by Marcus Zusak. This right here is my Harry Potter shelf, and these are the Swedish covers, so I thought I would just show you them all. Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. This is probably my favorite cover in the series. Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. and also Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. These are all written by J.K. Rowling, but you must have been living under a rock if you did not know that already. And we have this little pile of Stephen King books. In 2010 they released a couple of books in this beautiful edition kind of, so I just went out and bought all that I could find. So yeah. First we have Carrie, Misery, which was the first Stephen King book I ever read, Firestarter, Pet Sematary, It, which is a super heavy book, oh my god, and lastly The Stand. Then here to the side we have The Female Detective by Andrew Forster, The Fault in Our Stars by John Green, A Monster Calls by Patrick Ness, Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte. I love the backside of this cover, I think it's beautiful. And then we have this book, which has a very long name. It is Death Note, Another Note, The Los Angeles BB Murder Cases. It's written by Nisio Isin, yes, Nisio Isin, and it's pretty much a glorified, beautiful, amazing fanfiction of Death Note, which is by Tsugumi Oba and Takeshi Obata. On this shelf right here, first off we have the Lord of the Rings trilogy by J.R.R. Tolkien. That is The Fellowship of the Ring, The Two Towers, and The Return of the King. I will not take these books out because I've had them for years and they look horrible because they were really bad quality when I got them. Then we have On a Pale Horse by Piers Anthony. The Swedish trilogy by Jonas Gardell. It's about the AIDS epidemic in Sweden during the 80s, and it is called Never Wipe Tears Without Gloves. Pretty much. Yeah, I think that's it. It does not have an English release, and I really wish it did because it's awesome and heartbreaking and stuff. So the first part is called Love, the second is called Disease, and the third one is called Death. Then we have Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children by Ransom Riggs, The Circle, the first part in a trilogy by Mats Strandberg and Sara Bergmark Elfgren, as well as the sequel Fire, Crime and Punishment by Fyodor Dostoevsky, and lastly Catch-22 by Joseph Heller. We go over to this shelf. The first book we have is Coraline by Neil Gaiman, Artemis Fowl by Ewing Colfer, Artemis Fowl the Arctic Incident, and Artemis Fowl the Eternity Code. Then we have this little pile of classic books and stuff. First off we have Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. Then we have The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien, Macbeth by William Shakespeare, Othello, also by William Shakespeare, 1984 by George Orwell, I am currently reading this, Perfume by Patrick Suskind, The Catcher in the Rye by J.D. Salinger, The Hound of the Baskervilles by Arthur Conan Doyle, Alice's Adventures in Wonderland and Through the Looking Glass by Lewis Carroll, Dracula by Bram Stoker, Hamlet by William Shakespeare, Anna Karenina by Leo Tolstoy, and lastly The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexandre Dumas. First on this shelf we have a Swedish trilogy called Vren by Lotta Olivekrona. It doesn't have an English release and it probably never will because it's a few years old now. But I'll show you all the books anyway. The first one is The Forgotten Rooms, the second one is The Secret of the Towers, and the third one is The Gate of Eternity. Then we have The Sandman by Lars Kepler, Little Star by John Ajvide Lindqvist, The Garlic Ballads by Mojan, The Hunchback of Notre Dame by Victor Hugo, Matched by Ali Condi, The Casual Vacancy by J.K. Rowling, The Boy Called It by Dave Pelzer, Bones Are Forever by Kathy Reichs, a little book that one of my friends wrote as a project for school, and then the great book about psychology, which has a kind of a beautiful layout. I love it a lot. And yeah, it doesn't have a specific writer, it's just a company that's kind of provided stuff about psychology and stuff. Yeah. Go on to the last shelf of this pile of shelves that we have right here. So yeah, we go into the last one. The Little Old Lady Who Broke All the Rules by Katarina Ingelman Sundberg. Winter Apples by Josefin Sundström. This does not have an English release yet, and I don't know if it will. Parts 2 and 4 in the Tales of the Oturi series by Leon Hearn that I mentioned earlier. Part 2 is Grass for His Pillow, and Part 4 is The Harsh Cry of the Heron. What Came Before He Shot Her by Elizabeth George, Marley and Me by John Grogan, The Lost Boy by Camilla Läckberg, and the first part of Haruki Murakami's 1Q84. Then we have this very beat up copy of Les Miserables by Victor Hugo that I picked up in a second-hand shop when I was to London, and The Son of Neptune by Rick Riordan. This is the second book in the Heroes of Olympus series. I have the other books as well, but I do not have them in physical form. We have gotten ourselves all the way to the last shelf. First off, we have Pandemonium by Lauren Oliver, the second book in the Delirium trilogy. Then we have Requiem, the third part in the Delirium trilogy. And then we have Ruin and Rising. This is the third part of the Grisha trilogy by Lee Bardugo, and I just got it today and I can't wait to read it. Then we have this little Game of Thrones collection of mine. This book is called Inside HBO's Game of Thrones. It's by Brian Cogman, and it's like a collection of pictures and interviews with staff and just on how they made the show and the settings and stuff. So then we have the A Song of Ice and Fire series by George R.R. Martin. The first part is A Game of Thrones. The second is A Clash of Kings. The third part is A Storm of Swords, and it is splitted in 2 parts on my bookshelf. The first part is Steel and Snow, and the second part is Blood and Gold. Book 4 is A Feast for Crows, which I am currently reading. And the 5th part is A Dance with Dragons. First up in this little pile, we have the Hunger Games trilogy by Susan Collins. I do not know why they changed the spines for the 3rd book. I do not understand why. It disturbs me a lot. Anyway, the first part is The Hunger Games. The second part is Catching Fire. And the third is Mockingjay. In Swedish it's called Revolution for some reason, I do not know why. Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. Around the World in 80 Days by Jules Verne. The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. The Jungle Book by Rudyard Kipling. And Mansfield Park by Jane Austen. Then we have The Ocean at the End of the Lane by Neil Gaiman. This is the Mistborn trilogy by Brandon Sanderson. I will not take out the books because they are like really tight in that box and I will never get them back. So yeah, the first book is The Final Empire, the second is The Well of Ascension, and the third is The Hero of Ages. Right here we have The Song of the Lioness Quartet by Tamora Pierce. The first book is Alana, the First Adventure. The second book is In the Hand of the Goddess. The third book is The Woman Who Rides Like a Man. The fourth book is Lioness Rampant. Then we have Tahira Mafi's Shatter Me trilogy. The first part is Shatter Me, the second is Unravel Me, and the third one is Ignite Me. This is the very last pile of books that we will be going through. Here we have Divergent by Veronica Roth, the first book in the Divergent trilogy. Insurgent, the second book, and the third book, Allegiant. Then we have The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss. These remaining books are all written by Cami Garcia and Margaret Stoll. They are parts of the Beautiful Creatures series, and this last one right here is part of the spin-off series Dangerous Creatures. So the first one is Beautiful Creatures, the second is Beautiful Darkness, the third is Beautiful Chaos, and the fourth is Beautiful Redemption. And then we have this last book, which is Dangerous Creatures. So, that was my bookshelf. Now we are finished. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye!